Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today's design team project for Kindred Stamps is going to be highlighting the Winter Friends stamp. However, I am pulling out this castle image from Off to See the Wizard. So I have both of those, they're both amazing. Of course, I love all things Kindred. So we are going to get started with stamping out a bunch of these images and doing some really fun coloring. I tend to struggle with light coloring, pastel coloring, or anything that's not bam in your face coloring. So today was a very good exercise for me in practicing to lighten things up. So here I have stamped out with some Versamark sticky ink, and then I used some sparkly embossing powder to heat set that, and this is the castle. I am going to color this in with some of my Spectrum Noir markers. Now I do zoom in the future here. You'll see when I'm coloring the other images. But right now I am just kind of getting that color laid down. Now I chose a light turquoisey green color, almost like a light sea green for that. And then I'm going to go in and I am going to cover it with a Versamark pen. Any embossing pen would work. And I am going to pour the sparkly embossing powder all over it. The great thing about the sparkling embossing powder is that it doesn't cover the images. It just adds some really fun sparkle to it. So it's going to make it look like it's just this glittery castle of greatness. So here I've taken some 3 Distress Oxide colors, and I'm going to make my background. Again, I chose for a very soft palette for my background. This is going to be the sky behind, and I love the way that these 3 colors mix. When you're doing this technique here, it does all the work for you. I don't think that I could have deliberately done something so pretty, and that's what I love about these inks, is they react with water. Whatever colors you're choosing, you're gonna get such a wonderful mix, something that you probably didn't even expect. So I put my background aside, and now we're going to work on stamping out the images. I like to use VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and then I like to pour some clear embossing powder over it so that I can get it to raise up and then kind of have a little well to color my images, and it won't bleed outside the lines. I took some more of that mix of those Distress Oxide colors because I wanted to make this, this queen's dress nice and light, and because I don't really think I have a color that really is exactly what I was looking for, so I had to kind of make my own mix. It wasn't difficult. It was just 2 of those colors, and I got this really pretty, again, sea green color. So if you missed that right there on the right, I just picked up that color with another watercolor piece of paper. I can't let it go. I have problems. So here we're just going to continue to color these images. And listen, I don't give myself kudos very often, but I have to tell you, I struggle with hair, and especially blonde hair. I don't know what it is, but how do you get hair to look blonde? Well, I don't even know how I did this, to be quite frank. I just pulled out a couple colors. There's this color, and I'll put them on the screen, but there's this, the color that's almost like a oatmeal. I'm saying this without the color being on the screen, but it'll be up there. So that color, it almost just gave just the highlight where I wanted it, or actually the shading and depth, and then the water pulling it out just kind of gave me exactly what I wanted. So yay, sometimes you just have to experiment. All right, so I'm going through, and I am using Arteza Real Brush pens. No shocks there. And I am going to lay down my color and then pull it out with the water brush. So the first image, the blonde image, that was very simple to do. The color is all one, the dress is all one color, just really not difficult at all. The second girl here in her dress was a little bit more complicated. There's a lot of lines on the image, which I love because it does all the work for you. I just had to try to be deliberate in fitting in the colors that I wanted for her dress. And so in the end, I really liked the way it came out. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's exactly what I was going for. So I'm going to do some skin tones here. I made these 2 if fair-skinned images, and they have their little snowman friend right there. And I'm sure that he looks like he's reaching out for a hug. He might like warm hugs. And I am going to get to him in a second. Now, he is a snowman, so he's a little bit trickier to color because snow is white, and you want to still give a little bit of shading on your white images. And so I take the lightest gray that I have, and I just kind of put some shading where I think there might be shading. And I think that's one of the most fun things that I've discovered over the course of the last year in coloring is how alive you can make your images come. It's just really, really great and really fun. And I never thought about these things when I was coloring as a kid. Not really, not deliberately. And I think that would be so fun. Like if we have, I know that my daughter is creative, and so is my son in different ways. But I'm starting to teach her how to shade already. She brings me her coloring and she says, look I'm working on my shading. So I think it's just fun. Okay, so I pulled out this glitter cardstock from Concord and Ninth, and I am going to cut some hills out of it. Now the way I'm showing you right there, I actually turned it around and cut the hills. You'll see it in a second. But I'm going to spritz down my background with some sparkly spritz, some shimmer spray. And then I'm going to try to figure out how I want to lay out my entire scene. I am really pleased with the way that that castle came out. It makes me very happy. Off to the side, I actually cut out my images and removed the snowflake that the blonde queen was holding. And I'm going to put a different snowflake in her hand, and one that's sort of floating in the air. But I am getting my images down. Most of this is going to lay flat. I think I'm going to only pop up a couple of the images in the front. But I am squeezing that right behind the glitter cardstock. Now, this entire card is very, very glittery. No glitter that will come off in your hands, but it's very sparkly. And so, of course, I love all things glitter, so that worked out for me. Okay, so I'm getting my images here. I popped this up on some foam tape because I want to be able to have some of my images sit in there. Forgot about my sentiment, but I went back and thankfully it came out nice. And it's hope you have a cool birthday. So this will be a fun birthday card for a child or anyone who would appreciate this card. And I am going to lay down my blonde queen here, and she is going to have a little bit of foam tape behind her head and then glue on the rest of her body. And I do the same for the snowman, and then the girl in the back, she's just going to be laid down flat. Here is the snowflake that I'm putting in her hand, and just kind of letting those things settle and dry. And while they are, I'm going back in with a sparkle pen and a few little accents here and there. I'm using a Stardust glitter pen or gel pen right here just to add a little bit of fun to her hair. On the mat that I want behind the card, I chose some shimmer paper from DCWV, I believe it's called. And I am going to put my panel right onto that. I like that that gives it a little bit of a frame. And then I'm going to take my 110-pound Nina Solar white card base and score that at 5.5 inches, making it an A2 size card. I'm going to take some liquid adhesive, add that to the back of my panel here, put that down on the card, and we should be calling this a day for this card. This one was so much fun to do. I absolutely adore this stamp set. Don't forget to head over to the Kindred Stamps website because there are, I feel like is this too much of a hype? I love them. Their stamps are so fun. So if this company is new to you, become old friends. Head over there and check it out. Thanks so much for joining me and for hanging out with us as we made this card with the Kindred Stamps Winter Friends. Here are some still photos, and I will link everything I used below. If you have any questions, let me know, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.